Do you know the ancient Chinese and the Jews share one belief extremely in common, which is filial piety. Confucius believed that filial piety, the honoring of your father, your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother, is the root of all virtue in society. I think I have some fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers and mothers here. Could they stand up? Thank you so much, Mom and Dad, and Muddy and Pacho. I love you so much, and my Uncle George as well. And I think we have lots of mothers and fathers here too. If you're a mother or a father, stand up. Okay, good. And if you've founded a company before or created something, you are also a father or a mother. So if you've created something, please stand up. Thank you all for creating civilization. Civilization is a project that continues generation after generation after generation. And so that is why we respect our elders, because they are passing the torch to us. So the next time you meet someone who's been working on something for 50 years, because some guy from a totally different country named the Dalai Lama told him, you're going to be working on this for 3 lifetimes. You're not going to get it done in your lifetime. Remember the Notre Dame. You know, how long did the Notre Dame take to build? Like 1,000 years. And so in our age of AI, where everything is about right now, we are very focused on creation and destruction. Most of my friends know me as the guy who wants to disrupt everything. Disrupt this, disrupt that, disrupt this, disrupt that. But not somebody who wants to preserve something. Why are we trying to disrupt everything? Why are we trying to create so many things? Because there's some things that are worth preserving. So I love that Professor Thurman, I thought his remarks were inspired, but in case you missed them because of the connection, he honored in the age of AI, which is about artificial intelligence, he said that don't be worried about intelligence because true intelligence is not destructive, it's compassionate. And he referenced Manjushri, who is the bodhisattva of intelligence. And the mantra from Manjushri is Om Ara Patsa Na Di Di Di. Can you say that with me once? Om Ara Patsa Na Di Di Di. Twice. Om Ara Patsa Na Di Di Di. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to hit the timer, but I have some magical help to prevent me from being nervous. I have a lightning bolt scepter. It's like the original lightsaber. And I also have one of the best Sanskritists in the world. And we're going to do a quick demo of Sanskrit and Tibetan. So are you ready? Okay, good. Please come up on stage. I love Gaia. So I discovered her on Spotify because Spotify's AI works. And I was listening to weird stuff and sending me more weird stuff. And then like, who is this person? She's been singing Sanskrit from the age of 4 years old. A true labor of love. She sings through all these texts. And I would listen to her for hours that became hundreds of hours, that became thousands of hours. And eventually I figured, I should email this person. This is getting kind of weird. And then I didn't hear anything back. And then 6 months passed and I emailed again. I really like you and I would like to donate. And then I got a response. And so the demo we're going to do is a special mantra called the Vajrasattva mantra, and it has beautiful meanings. I encourage you to look it up. We'll send it out afterwards. We won't read the full translation. I actually have the translation. But she's going to sing it in Sanskrit, and then I'm going to sing it in Tibetan. And this is going to be just a little demo of how translation works, so you can see that people are saying the same things in 2 different cultures. Go ahead.
We do it phrase by phrase.
No, do the
whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Om Vajrasattva Samayam Anupalaya Vajrasattva Tvenopatishtha Dridho me bhava Sutoshyo me bhava Suposhyo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarvasiddhim me Prayachha Sarvakarmasu Cha me Chittang Shreyah Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan sarvathathagata vajrama me muncha vajri bhava mahasamaya sattva hum pat.
Om benzo sato samaya manopralaya benzo sato tenopa tita tithra me bawa Sutokao me bawa, supokao me bawa, anarato me bawa, sarva siddhi me prayatsa, sarva kama sutsa me chitam shiriya kuruhum ha ha ho bhagave, sarva tathagata benza mame menza benzi bawama, samaya sato ha. Same. So, this is the launch of Eternity Foundation. And our first large-scale project, the Great Library of Nalanda AI Restoration and Experience Project. Dear friends and allies, magnanimous philanthropists and learned audience, thank you for being here tonight. It means so much to me personally and to us as co-founders as we begin this great undertaking. I've been pondering a riddle, and I invite you to ponder it with me. Both the road to hell and the road to heaven are paved with good intentions. So what's the difference? To set the stage, allow me to recite the dramatic opening lines of the book which we call the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but which Tibetans call the Bardo Thodol, the great book of natural liberation through understanding in the between. Between, as in the states of being between life, death, and rebirth, as the soul or consciousness continues its journey after death in the mysterious realm they call the Bardo, before reincarnation in a new body. So, the Bardo Thodol, the great book of natural liberation through understanding in the between, begins with these immortal verses. Are you oblivious to the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death? There is no guarantee that you will survive even past this very day. The time has come for you to develop perseverance in your practice. For at this singular opportunity, you could attain the everlasting bliss of nirvana. So now is not the time to sit idly, but starting with the reflection on death, you should bring your practice to completion. The moments of our life are not expendable, and the possible circumstances of death are beyond imagination. If you do not achieve an undaunted, confident security now, what point is there in your being alive, O living creature? I'm grateful that somebody translated that. Do you know that all the AI model companies have run out of data? They've literally uploaded the entire internet into their models, and they're paying humans to create new data. But there is so much existing data like this that is unfakeably human and inspired. These unforgettable words, this powerful teaching, was translated into English in 1927. But the teaching is from an 8th century sage named Padmasambhava, 1,200 years ago, reaching across time to us today with profound relevance and urgency. The wisdom this book contains is no less relevant today because of AI. If anything, it is more relevant, as we'll see later tonight, when I give you a brief history of simulation theory. But I'm sharing this passage with you before I talk about anything else because it touched my own heart. When I was a struggling entrepreneur here in New York City, I wandered into the Rubin Museum one day and discovered this text in the bookshop. When I read these verses, a weight fell off my shoulders. All the stress of running my company just didn't matter suddenly. Suddenly, I realized there is 100% tax rate on death. Why am I working so hard then? Many entrepreneurs share this experience. As your enterprise value grows, as you begin to build wealth and achieve a taste of liquidity, suddenly the success produces an existential crisis. Once your initial mission is achieved, why are you staying in the game for the long term? Why not retire? There are less than 10 companies with market capitalizations above $1 trillion. But I believe both Invisible and Infinity have the potential, have a path to have impact at that scale. To manifest that destiny, I intend to give them my time, energy, creativity, and passion in the decades ahead. I'm only 35, so. But you never know how much time you have. So, why? What am I doing it for? Invisible and Infinity will make the world much more efficient and effective, empowering their clients to become more creative and strategic. And I care about that. That's a beautiful and worthwhile form of impact. But I care about much more than that, much more. And I want to put my heart and soul into my work. So what else do my heart and soul care about? Let me tell you a strange story about how tonight's event came about. Where's Bear Kate? Of course, you're right here. Hey, Bear. Last spring, I reconnected with my old friend, Bear Kate, for the first time in a decade, Kismet, while swimming with manta rays in the Caribbean. As we caught up on our lives and interests, I mentioned my newfound love for singing Sanskrit and Tibetan mantras, which I discovered through reading Hindu and Buddhist classics. To my shock, he responded by bursting into sacred song. Do you want to sing something? Later, okay. I was like, wait, you too? Bear, how did you discover this? No way, your dad is a professor of Sanskrit and Tibetan at Columbia University's religion department? Where's Komodo? Yo, Komodo, please stand up. This man melted my heart. He's a true bodhisattva in disguise. Deep disguise. Bear then introduced me to his wonderful father, David, who prefers to be called Komodo, as in Komodo dragon, instead of Professor Kate. Komodo then told me about the translation work he was doing. I couldn't believe that there were still ancient texts that hadn't been translated into English. To put this into context, the Bhagavad Gita was only translated into English at the end of the 18th century. How many of you have read that and had it transform your life? Raise your hands, loud and proud. Okay. This text has transformed all these lives in this room, and it was only translated into English at the end of the 18th century. The Mahabharata, the entire epic from which the Gita comes, was only translated into English at the end of the 19th century. The Chinese Book of Changes, the I Ching, was only translated into English in the 1950s. And so on and so forth, with all the classics of Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Taoism, Confucianism, and Shintoism, the merging of Eastern consciousness and pre-Columbian consciousness into Western consciousness and vice versa, that merging of consciousnesses is new as a world historical phenomena. A similar discovery, resurfacing and merging is happening with all the ancient and medieval civilizations. Machu Picchu, how many of you have been to Machu Picchu? Loud and proud, up and up. I'm proud of my mom and dad. They did the whole thing, went all the way to the top. The lost city of the Incas was discovered in 1911 by a Yale University professor. The Nag Hammadi crypt, with the lost Platonic, Hermetic, Gnostic, and Christian scrolls it contained, was discovered in 1945. The importance of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey wasn't understood until the 1990s. We have a professor here with us, one of our honored guests, Dr. Reed, who is one of the cuneiform scholars studying Sumerian civilization, ancient Mesopotamian civilization. He's one of the people who went to the bottom of the British Museum and found a bunch of untranslated texts, and they're working on a project. So all this is still new. I remember where I was when I took the call with Professor Kate. I was in Greece in early August last year on vacation. I had just toured the ruins of Mycenae, Argos, Olympia, Sunio, and Delphi. And while driving between these sites, I was listening to my favorite podcast, The Wisdom of the Masters, in which a Buddhist nun reads ancient texts across religious traditions in a lectio divina. So I felt acutely aware and profoundly grateful for the work of translators in that moment of my life. And it so happened that I had just had my first liquidity event. For any entrepreneur who has never seen equity turn into money, it's a miraculous transformation. So I made my first small donation to build a relationship and get closer to Professor Kate and his translation work. Then, last Thanksgiving, my father, Rick, sent me a tweet with a photograph of Sakya Monastery in Tibet that blew my mind and gave me goosebumps. Texts, floor to ceiling. They say 84,000, which is another way, apparently a colloquial way of saying tons and tons. A shit ton. A sacred ton of texts in sacred and in Sanskrit and Tibetan that had just been digitized. So they've been digitized, but they have never been translated into English, Chinese, or any other language. A veritable goldmine of civilization. Eureka! Incredulous, I forwarded it to Professor Kate. Komodo, is this real? Not only did he confirm that it was real, of course, he was already involved in the translation effort. He CC'd Professor Thurman and Professor Yarnall, who invited me on a Zoom call. I felt like an Arthurian knight being summoned by 3 Merlins and sent on a new quest for the Holy Grail. My vow to them was something like, we must translate this. I will do anything and everything in my power to help you get this done. Inshallah, or however they say this in Buddhism. And they gave me their blessing, and here we are, assembling co-founders and inviting you to join us on this crazy quest. So what's the scoop? Yes, let's do it. So what's the scoop? Where did these texts come from? As the professors told me the story and I did my own research, I kept getting my mind blown. For those of you who want to read a legendary but original source account, I recommend the account of Lady Yeshe Sagyul, Princess of Karchen, which was translated by Eric Pema Kunsang under the title Lotus Born, The Life Story of Padmasambhava. You can get it on Amazon. For a more scholarly treatment of this history, I refer you to Professor Yarnall for further reading. But allow me to briefly summarize the takeaways from my research and from reading Princess Sagyul's unforgettable tale. The Great Library and University of Nalanda was the Great Library of Alexandria of the East. It flourished from the 5th through the 12th centuries, studying all outer and inner sciences, attracting scholars from thousands of miles in every direction, amassing a great body of learning. But tragically, it was burned down in a 12th century invasion. Thankfully, there was a backup drive. In the 8th century, the Tibetan king, Trisong Detsen, converted from Bon shamanism to Buddhism, very much like Constantine converted from paganism to Christianity in 313 AD. So King Trisong Detsen converted from Bon shamanism to Buddhism in the 8th century and invited the great wizard, Padmasambhava, to help him convert his court and people and build his first libraries, temples, and monastic universities on the model of the Indian ones in the Nalanda tradition you just heard about. They sent wave after wave of translators to Nalanda with bags of gold to buy the Indian IP. They've just been investing in R&D longer than us. Skeptical contemporary scholars don't take legendary stories like this too literally, but in Princess Sagyul's account, this definitely goes in the Hollywood movie, the great translators Vairochana and Vimalamitra spend their last bag of gold bribing the captain of the guards to finish their translations with invisible ink so that the guards don't ask any questions when they leave and they escape to Tibet before their pursuers can find them. Nalanda was backed up in Tibet. If you think backing up your computer to the cloud takes too long, impatiently waiting for a few hours for that process to complete, just imagine how patient, how devoted, how completely committed the Tibetans had to be to complete this backup process. Because this backup process took approximately 4 centuries. The initial 8th century Nyingma transmission period, which Lady Sagyul recounts, was followed by a later Sarma transmission period between the 9th and the 12th centuries. These 6,000 plus texts form the bulk of the Tibetan corpus, known as the Kangyur and the Tangyur. And there are later commentaries. We'll get to that in a bit. These 6,000 texts were the greatest hits, rescued from the millions of Sanskrit texts lost in the demise of Nalanda in the 12th century. These texts haven't just been sitting in Tibetan libraries, unused and unappreciated, collecting dust. The Tibetans, Ladakhis, Bhutanese, and other Buddhist scholar practitioners around the world have not just statically preserved the texts, they have mastered them, dynamically interacting with them, commenting upon them, expanding upon them, practicing them, living them. Generation after generation of masters have sustained this lineage in an unbroken tradition. Thus, the knowledge, wisdom, and practices contained in these texts survive as a living tradition. The Nalanda tradition lives. The Nalanda tradition continues to this day in a millennia plus long living tradition. We are so fortunate that His Holiness the Dalai Lama and so many other lamas and Buddhist scholar practitioners over the last 1,000 years, 1,000 plus years, 1,200 years, represent and embody this living tradition so that it reaches us today. It's amazing. It's a true story. Multiple editions of these texts have now been digitized, but most have not yet been translated. Using 20th century techniques, this research, interpretation, and translation project might cost up to $100 million. But with 21st century AI tools assisting human translators to increase their productivity and depth and breadth of research, we may be able to accomplish this for a fraction of that cost, as little as $20 million, if we are able to realize the deflationary potential of AI in applied practice. One of our honored guests here tonight, Eric Colombel from the Shadra Foundation. Where is Eric? Please stand up, Eric. This man deserves a great round of applause from everyone. Part of what I hope to do with Eternity Foundation is give recognition and credit where it is due, and this man has worked tirelessly. He's put his capital and time and energy and devotion to work for how many years, Eric? 25 years. To translate the Tibetan commentary corpus, which is even bigger than the corpus I just mentioned. And I would like to share that partnering with the Berkeley AI Lab, he shared with me that they've been able to reduce the time to produce a first draft of a translation from 18 months to 3 weeks. Without reducing their incredibly high and rigorous scholarly standards, which is what makes it so impressive. But only scholars and seekers will care if we just translate these texts. That's not good enough. This is our world historical opportunity, not just to translate them, but to pioneer 21st century industrial scale AI-assisted research and translation that is an order of magnitude better, faster, and cheaper while maintaining scholarly rigor and multidisciplinary and global relevance. And then to use AI to bring these books to life in an unforgettable way that will make a lasting impression on billions of people so that their magic returns to the world. There needs to be an AI film about Padmasambhava and Lady Sagyul. How many of you have heard of the recent Vesuvius Scroll Prize? Raise your hand. I'd like to give them credit as well. It's incredible. How many of you, was anyone here involved in supporting that? Okay. All right, so I'm going to tell you about it. Maybe you support it. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, it burned down an entire ancient Roman library of scrolls, which remain, albeit burnt to a crisp. The latest imaging techniques are able to decipher the layers of letters hidden on each scroll. So they launched an open source competition to use AI to translate the scrolls. And they're making rapid progress in breaking news regularly. Nat Friedman, the founder of GitHub, launched the project in partnership with Dr. Brent Seals. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, John and Patrick Collison, Charlie Songhurst, and other tech luminaries have backed the prizes, and already over $1 million of prizes have been awarded to translators, with millions more in commitments. This is incredible work in the spirit of the X Prize Foundation. We have a guest here from the X Prize Foundation. This is an incredible work, and we hope to partner with them, and we should congratulate their pioneering efforts. Our Nalanda opportunity differs in two key respects. One, the texts are undamaged And there are 84,000, tons and tons of them. Therefore, our approach to researching, translating, and publishing them will also differ. It will look much more like a digital assembly line of PhDs in Sanskrit and Tibetan, using AI tools to assist them with research, editing, translation, QAing each other's work, and getting paid a market price per page. I don't know if it was the market price per page that got people to clap, but it's a good reason. You know, they're undercompensated, and I know the numbers. So Scott, Nico, and Professor Yarnaw will take us into more detail on this shortly. We're going to execute this work in batches or production runs, just like a manufacturing process. The first production run will be 100K and will help us work out lots of operational, technological, and QA kinks, yielding an initial price per page for producing high-quality, well-researched, edited, annotated translations. Then, as our confidence increases, we'll fund a second $1 million production run, then report back to the public with our initial results. To fund these first two production runs, I need your help to raise the first $1 million, Eternity's seed round, which I hope oversubscribes. I will fund at least 10% of the target, $100,000 in this round. Then as I receive additional liquidity, I will do much more in anticipated future seed extension and Series A rounds as we achieve scale. We're rethinking how these nonprofits get done. I'm all in for the short, medium, and long-term future of Eternity Foundation. Initially, I've committed 10% of my net worth to Eternity Foundation to finance this and future projects. At scale, I will increase my commitment to 33%, but for now, that's all in illiquid stock, so I need your help. Please co-found this with me. Both the road to hell and the road to heaven are paved with good intentions, so what's the difference? The answer to that riddle is, of course, execution. Follow through, manifestation, making good on those good intentions in real life. But hard and skillful work, upaya is the word in Buddhist texts, hard and skillful work isn't enough. Even excellent strategy isn't enough. We need fate, destiny, and luck to be favorable, to cooperate with us. And fate takes the form of other people. Good fortune takes the form of friends and allies. I invite you to co-found the Eternity Civilization Foundation with us, to share in the karmic blessing, and also to accelerate the timeline. We don't want to wait for Invisible and Infinity to IPO. Life is too short, and our window of opportunity is now. We want to start industrial-scale AI translation now. We want to use AI to help people experience the stories, art, architecture, music, culture, knowledge, wisdom, glory, and magic of ancient and medieval civilizations now. I am grateful to those of you who have already expressed interest in donating. It's been incredible. I would like to make a commitment before, if you would like to make a commitment before getting involved or ask questions, email me at francis@eternity.giving. Thanks to Rick's tireless efforts, he was Invisible's first CFO, by the way. We have submitted, and I believe Invisible's second CFO somewhere in the room. He deserves some credit. We have submitted our 501c3 application and expect IRS confirmation soon. If for whatever reason now is not the right time to commit capital, but you can help us by making introductions, joining our community, or helping in some other way, we welcome all forms of support and are eternally grateful. The Great Library of Nalanda AI Restoration and Experience Project is Eternity Foundation's first large-scale project, but hopefully it won't be the last. We have an expansive vision. For the last 9 months, the Eternity Foundation has been making small donations to establish partnerships with artists, sages, and values-aligned organizations, and will continue to do so. But as I draw these introductory remarks to a close, I'd like to share the broader vision. Why is this so motivating to me that I would dedicate my time, energy, and fortune to it? I am glad that others care about colonizing Mars. We care about restoring Earth, not just its natural balance, not just its natural balance and vivacious beauty, but also its history and civilizations, including their art, architecture, music, knowledge, wisdom, and traditions. Napoleon said he found the crown of France lying in the gutter, and he picked it up with his sword. In contrast, in the 21st century, we awake to find the glory of human civilization forgotten, hiding in libraries, crypts, tombs, and archaeological sites. So we're going to resurrect it with an invisible sword, AI process platforms with 8 billion visionary humans in the loop. Yeah. Woo! This is our shared inheritance. If in this century and the centuries to come, humanity becomes a spacefaring civilization, we will not identify solely with Western or with Eastern civilization, but with human civilization. And our inheritance is not meager but vast. While much has been lost, much has been found. And much work remains to be done to understand those who came before us. We've only begun to understand the pre-Christian European paganism, the Celtic Druids like Merlin, and the Germanic Norse, about pre-Columbian Native American civilizations, about the first peoples of Africa and the aboriginals of Polynesia. We're still piecing together the fragments of ancient Greece, Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, China, Mongolia, and more. Thomas Mann put it this way: very deep is the well of the past. Should we not call it bottomless? If only we could time travel to witness the layers and layers of dynasties and kingdoms, to participate in their feasts, their epic parties and festivals, to gaze on their art and architecture, to hear their literature, to comprehend their knowledge and wisdom, to meet their men and women, their laborers, skilled craftsmen, merchants, warriors, lords, and sages, to behold their glory. Unfathomable is the depth of civilization. Thankfully, we began writing it down, converting our oral traditions into books. One of the oldest surviving books, which Dr. Reed studies, the Epic of Gilgamesh, dates to 2300 BC, more than 4 millennia ago. And the Sumerian civilization it describes is already advanced. They're referring to ancients. Who are they? The drama it narrates is epic. The characters are lifelike. They're not different from us. They are us. Their emotions, their struggles, their triumphs are identical to ours today. Ancient and medieval civilizations were far more advanced than most people realize. We're chronological snobs. We commonly assume that all prior centuries were primitive. After all, it is true, we have superior plumbing and dentistry. It's good to be alive in 2025. Our technological singularities are not the first, however. In the 15th century, the invention of the Gutenberg printing press was a technological singularity, not unlike the invention of the internet or LLMs. Later tonight, I'll give you a very brief history of simulation theory, and I'll return to this theme. My co-founders and I share an understanding of historical progress, which is exactly the opposite of consensus. We're contrarians. I ask you to visualize 21st century science, engineering, math, and technology climbing up a mountain of progress, reaching a peak, which turns out to be yet another false summit, only to find a bunch of ancient and medieval sages, musicians, artists, and philosophers sitting up there at the top in lotus pose, saying, "What took you so long, young ones?" Newton said it best: we achieve today's wonders because we stand on the shoulders of giants, our fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers going all the way back. That which is ancient is most futuristic. It is well worth our time to resurrect the past. When our past is understood, our destiny will become clear. Some of you may be already familiar with the Lindy effect. The longer something has been around, the longer it is likely to stay around. Whereas yesterday's news is already old news, and almost all New York Times bestsellers from 1994, 2004, 2014, or even 2024 have already faded from view. Most books, most works of art, most architecture, most music does not stand the test of time. But the classics do, and that's what makes them remarkable. And it's remarkable that we still try. The power law applied in history selects one sage, one leader, one artist, one architect, one musician, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, 1 in a million, 1 in a billion, and so on. Very few, very, very few stand the test of time. Time is the hardest, the most humbling, the almost impossible test. Therefore, what has stood the test of time will continue to stand the test of time. It is our opportunity, duty, pride, and joy, not just to preserve and protect it, but to spread it as a living tradition, to return this magic to the world for the benefit of all. So I end with these immortal verses from T.S. Eliot, John Keats, and William Blake. Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It shall never pass into nothingness. Eternity is in love with the productions of time.